My Brand Builder Starter Kit, what's inside it and why you need it. If you've downloaded my free 8-step framework guide already and you've thought to yourself, okay, I understand the roadmap, but where do I actually start? How do I actually start doing the work? This video's for you. Because knowing the steps and having the tools to execute them are two completely different things. The framework shows you the map, the roadmap, and what I'm about to talk about today gives you everything that you need to actually make your journey within fashion and understand the fashion industry on how to design your brand. Let me show you what's inside my Brand Builder Starter Kit and what it's going to do for your brand and the gap between knowing and doing. Hi, I'm Sarah, founder of SC Studio. If you're new here, I've spent 17 years in the fashion industry across design, product development, buying, and 6 years with a specialist cashmere supplier, developing ranges for Whistles, Jaeger, White Company, Hush, and many other premium brands. I've sat across the table from buyers at Harvey Nichols, Harrods, and Selfridges. And over the years, I've watched hundreds of brands make the same avoidable mistakes, not because they weren't talented, but because they didn't understand or have the right tools at the right stages of the process. SC Studio exists to change that. My Brand Builder Starter Kit is a solid starting point for you. It's a foundation to ensure that you're getting off to a commercial, successful footing, taking all my years of experience and putting it into 3 workbooks. Let me explain why it came about. When I released my 8-step free framework guide, the responses that I kept getting is, this makes so much sense, but how do I actually do it? How do I even actually get to step 1 of the process? The framework gives you the sequence. The starter kit gives you the actual tools and processes and documents to work through to be able to launch your brand successfully. 3 workbooks built and designed all in the same signature. So it's recognizable and easy and friendly to follow. Designed so you can sit down and work through them at your own pace. Come out the other side with a brand foundation that is genuinely solid, not just an idea in your head. It's commercial and it will be successful because you've covered all angles. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what's inside each workbook, who is it for, and what you'll have when you've worked through it. I'm also going to tell you the one mistake most brand founders make at the very beginning that costs them everything later. And it's how the kit specifically is designed to stop that happening. Stick around for that. So, why do most brands struggle? What have they missed in order to succeed? Before I walk you through the kit, I want to explain why I built this the way I did, because the structure is intentional and understanding that will help you, and it will help you get so much more out of it. In my 17 years in the industry, I saw every kind of brand. And what struck me was how many of them were operating without a real process, not because they were careless, but because the industry doesn't hand you the knowledge of the process. Most brands and buyers learn through experience, through trial and error, through expensive mistakes that nobody warned them about. What a lot of them did instead was rely on someone else to carry the knowledge. A designer who happened to know the process, a strong product developer in their team or in their supplier, or even in the factory itself, picking up the slack. And that works until it doesn't work. None of that is guaranteed, and none of that is even the norm. The designer moves on, the supplier changes their team, and suddenly you're exposed and you don't even have the language or the know-how or even know what's missing. So without that foundational knowledge, success becomes hit or miss, or reliant on the people around you. And in fashion, hit or miss is a very expensive way to operate. Here's the other thing that nobody talks about. Even when you do have a designer involved, whether that's you or someone in-house or a designer within your supplier, there's still a fundamental problem. Because designers by nature aren't thoroughly commercial thinkers. That's not a criticism. That's just how the roles and their mindset is structured. They're creative. They're looking out for trends and influences. A designer understands fabric and is creative to the extent of they're producing beautiful collections. They may have a rough sense of whether something will land within a right retail bracket, but the commerciality of the detail, the costing, the margin, the pricing architecture, the negotiation, that's traditionally a buyer's mentality, a buyer's mindset, or a product developer's mindset, not a design function. And a buyer, on the other hand, isn't a designer. They don't always understand the creative process, the client profile in depth, or what actually is needed to develop a product from concept through to the finished garment. Different companies differ detail, but generally you don't get a designer who is skilled at buying and you don't get a buyer who is skilled at designing. So there's a mismatch, a gap right in the middle, and most brand founders fall into this without even knowing it exists. What I bring, and this is genuinely what makes SC Studio very different in the market, is that I've sat in every single one of those seats. I've trained as a designer, I've shown my collections at Graduate Fashion Show, and I've worked in the industry as a designer for a big brand. I've moved through design, through the industry, moving more towards the forefront of the fashion industry, into buying and into product development. I've even worked in account management in the sales side of the fashion industry for brands and suppliers and directly for factories. I've been the designer, the buyer, the product developer, the commercial strategist, and driving sales of the theme and the mood and the trends, and sometimes even all at once. That means I think like a buyer and a designer at the same time. I understand the creative vision and the commercial reality and how to get to the commercial reality. I know what the factory needs. I can develop a product to the best of the commercial sense and to what the buyer expects and what the customer will actually pay. That combination of commercially minded designer with a real buying and product development and sales experience is rare. And that's exactly what an independent brand founder needs in their corner. Because just having a talented designer on your team doesn't mean you'll produce a commercial range. And just by having buying experience doesn't mean you understand the full journey from niche, customer profile, concept, right through to factory negotiation and understanding how to solve a problem within design, import, and even delivery. The ones who have made it have done the foundational work themselves and understand the complete process from A to Z. They knew exactly who their customer was before they even designed a single thing. They knew their price points before they even put pen to paper. They've done their market research and their competitor analysis properly. Not a quick stroll on Instagram, but a real structured competitive audit. And they've had brand identity that is consistent, deliberate, and commercially current. The ones who didn't make it skipped all of those stages, didn't want to stay on the administration, auditing, competitor analysis process. They jumped straight into the product or straight into marketing and built everything on sand. I've seen it at every level. Small independents, mid-sized businesses with real budgets, but the pattern is always the same. I've done it all. And that's the experience and knowledge that I bring to the brand starter kit. I'll tell you a little bit about each workbook so you can get a handle of the whole document. Workbook 1 is the brand concept and niche workbook. This workbook does one thing really well. It forces you to get specific. Who is the brand for and what problem does it solve? And why does it even exist? By the time you've worked through it, you'll have a solid brand concept where you can hand this brand concept to anyone and they will totally understand your customer and your brand. You can hand it to your internal team, your factory, your web or online digital designer, any support function that you have, and they will totally understand it. Workbook 2, market research checklist and competitor audit. This is the one phase that most people skip, and it's the most expensive mistake to make. This workbook gives you a structured process and an understanding of your market, your competitors, your aspirations, your inspirations, and where the gaps are, which in turn become design opportunities and money-making opportunities. Then you discover where your brand really lives in the market. When you've worked through this, you'll know your market better than most people who have been in the industry for years. Linked to this phase, you'll also receive a bonus document that will easily help you keep on top of and identify opportunities within your key competition and the brands you aspire to. Workbook 3, This is the one that ties everything together. Your brand story, your visual identity, your tone of voice, decisions that you can therefore make once and once only, so that everything produces from that point forward is consistent, and consistency builds trust, and trust builds a brand. This workbook makes sure that you get that foundation right before you spend a penny on designing, sampling, photography, marketing, the whole remaining process. But who is this for? Who is the brand starter kit for? And who is it not for? I want to be really straightforward with you about who this kit is actually being built for, because I'd rather you buy something that is right for you than wrong for you. This is for you if you're starting at the beginning, but it's also for you if you're a few years into your brand. If you have an idea for your fashion brand and you want to build it properly from the ground up, this is for you. But it is also for you if you've been in the industry for a couple of years and you're making a few sales, you haven't really got a clear identity and you don't really know how you got there with your sales, and you really want structure and take it to the next phase and to grow your brand. Also for you if you want to do a brand audit and go back to the start and use this document to make sure that you've actioned every part of the brand development process correctly, leaving no stone unturned. Every stone, every area is watertight for you, so therefore you cannot not be successful. It's designed to be worked through in order. Workbook 1, Workbook 2, Workbook 3. 3 workbooks built on each other and to follow each other. Concept first, then market research, then brand identity. That sequence is deliberate. It's not a shortcut. You'll need to put the time into it, and you'll need to invest in yourself, and you'll need to dedicate that process to your brand if you want your brand to be successful. But the time you spend here saves you enormous amount of time and money and frustration later on down the line, when the mistakes are much more expensive to fix. This kit is available from my Stan Store. The main Stan Store link is in my YouTube bio. You can click into that and you can see my free download if you would like to download that, as well as my brand starter kit. It's a digital download, so you'll have it immediately and you can work through it at your own pace in your own time. So to recap, 3 workbooks: my brand concept and niche workbook, the market research checklist and competitor audit, and the brand story and brand guidelines makes up my brand starter kit. Each one tackles a stage of the designing and brand creation foundation process that most brand founders either skip or rush. Together, they give you everything that you need to know: what your brand is, who it's for, and what market position it sits within. That's the foundation. And without that, the foundation is nothing. The brand starter kit is available now for only £37, 17 years experience in 3 workbooks with a bonus document. The description is also on my Stan Store should you wish to know more, and you can download it and have it within minutes of purchasing. And like I say, if you haven't already grabbed the 8-step framework free guide, that's on my Stan Store too. Start there if you want the full picture, the bird's eye view of the process before you go into the workbooks. And if you've already downloaded the framework and you're ready to actually do the work and to produce a successful brand, the starter kit is your next step. Drop a question in the comments. I read every single one and I get back to as many people as I can. And if this video was useful, please subscribe. There's a lot more where this is coming from. So see you in the next video. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye for now.